Welcome to another episode of the Rankum Podcast. Thanks for making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you listen to us. We're available on all podcast platforms as well as YouTube. We would certainly appreciate it if you give us a like, subscribe, 5-star review, tell your friends about us, however you can help us out. We certainly do appreciate it. I'm Garrett Seawright. You can find me on Twitter at Garrett Seawright, joined as always with co-host Don Garwood.
And you can find me on Twitter at Donnie_D.
And as you may be able to tell, Don is on the road for work. Don, on what planet do you currently reside, and what are you wearing, and you have to tell the truth?
I am wearing red shorts, purple shirt.
I was going to say, you're wearing a purple t-shirt. I know you are.
Yeah, it's the purple t-shirt that, at this point, has holes all over in it, and it's like real thin in certain spots, like where there's about to be a hole. Like it's inappropriate to wear in public.
Yeah.
But lounging around in a hotel room, not that bad. You got to walk down. You got to walk down to the ice machine, get some ice for your 7 and 7s.
I was gonna say you're old fashioned. You're whipping up somehow in your hotel room.
It's perfectly adequate for that. But I am in Houston, Texas,
the booming metropolis that is Houston, Texas. So
we're under a severe thunderstorm watch.
Ooh, that's better or worse than a warning? I can't ever keep those straight.
I think it depends on how you look at it. Like if you're a storm chaser, I think it's worse than a warning. But a warning means, hey, it's about to hit. Whereas a watch is like, meh, maybe.
These are meteorology lessons with Don. And since Don is on the road, that got our creative juices thinking of where are the best and worst places we've ever been. So, without further ado, we are going to go down our lists of best and worst places we've ever been, and Don will get to go first. So, Don, you take it away. Where's the best and worst places you've ever been?
Ooh. So, best and worst, synonymous with favorite and least favorite.
That's
because
true.
Honestly, like my number one is probably considered like not that great of a place, but it's my favorite place I've been. But we're starting at 3, not at number 1. Number 3 on my favorite list, I guess is where we're going to start, is Omaha, Nebraska. I went there.
Seriously?
So the place where I stayed, we went there maybe 2018. We went to Ohio State at Nebraska.
Hold on. We didn't go because my lovely wife would not let me go because I had to work that weekend, and she said, "It sure makes a lot of sense for you to go spend money rather than make money," and I didn't get to go.
Right, but we, as in me and our friend Marcus and his wife, did get to go because my wife said it was fine.
Yeah, she did.
In fact, she was practically encouraging it.
She egging you on, being like, "I bet you won't."
Right. So I've got Omaha, Nebraska on here because
Omaha, Nebraska.
When we went there, the place that we stayed at, when we walked out of our hotel, and this could be a very specific to this 2-block area that I was in, walked out of our hotel, and it was like brick-laid streets, very old-fashioned, like a farmer's market going on, like a couple bars / restaurants that you just kind of like walk up into. You've seen like the last Batman movie, Christopher Nolan Batman movie?
Yeah.
Where Alfred is like out on this patio drinking coffee and he sees Batman and
all is right in the world
over there. Yeah, and everything's right in the world. That's what this outdoor patio in Omaha, Nebraska reminded me of. just a bunch of Ohio State fans seeing each other from across this patio, nodding, not being obnoxious, a couple Nebraska fans mixed in. But just everything was right in the world. It was very calming, relaxing, like 6 hours before we went to Lincoln and just got faced.
All right, so that took a turn.
That little slice of Omaha, Nebraska was super nice. And it's a city that I've only been to once, but I've wanted to go back and visit just to see what it's like for like 3 days instead of really only seeing the city for about 6 hours.
So what is the exact opposite of Omaha, Nebraska at number 3 on your bad list?
Chicago, Illinois is, I feel like, probably pretty easily picked on, but you don't feel safe in Chicago no matter where you are, unless you're like on Northwestern's campus, which I've been on. But like everywhere else in Chicago is old rundown buildings, dirty sidewalks, and like I've worked in Chicago and been to places where they're like, hey, at 6 p.m., you have to leave. Oh, why do we have to leave? Like, go to your hotel and don't come out of your hotel until 8 a.m. the next morning. Why? Because people like you aren't really welcome here. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to my hotel room and never come back.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And that's similar to why my number 3 is my number 3 on the least favorite. I have Memphis, Tennessee in my number 3 because I was in virtually the same thing.
I'm going to spoil and say that Memphis would be my honorable mention for worst cities as well. But go ahead.
Because I went to Memphis for a work conference, and the group we were there with basically said, do not leave this 2-block area. And they're like, you know how sometimes you get off on like an interstate exit and it says the speed, like the recommended speed is 40 miles an hour and you can go 75. Like this, I'm not screwing around. Don't leave this 2-block. Don't leave this 2-block area. We're like, okay, yeah. And they're like, you're laughing. I'm not laughing. Don't leave this 2-block area. Well, a guy that was in my group got sick and wanted to go to a doctor's care. So we ordered an Uber. Uber gets lost. And in this Uber driver's confusion, it says, I'm going to need you to lay down. And the guy said, why? And he said, because I'll get shot if I've got a white guy in the back seat of this car. Oh, okay. There was somebody that worked in Memphis said, you know what they say about Memphis? Come for the barbecue, but stay because you got murdered. So it was not a lovely experience from even the people who lived there, worked there, were very adamant. Do not leave this 2-block radius from Beale Street or the Peabody Hotel. I was like, okay. So I didn't get to see a whole ton of it because we were recommended to not do that outside of going to Graceland. So Memphis, Tennessee, not a fun time.
I'm going to give you just a little bit of I'm just going to hop on your Memphis bandwagon here. The one time I've been to Memphis, we drove there. So it's like an 8-ish hour drive, 6 to 8 hours maybe.
Yeah, it's probably 8
10
hours.
hours.
It's probably every bit of 8 hours.
We drove to Memphis on a Sunday, and we got to our hotel at, I think they're Central Time.
Yes.
So it was at like 8:15, which means Game of Thrones had already started 15 minutes past. This was in 2018. Just to give everybody a time frame of where we're at.
Of why I cared about Game of Thrones.
We're in like early August 2018. So like the end of season 6 is where we're at. Like right around Battle of the Bastards time frame. So it's kind of a big deal.
Right. This is the goods.
Get to Memphis. I'm like, well, I'm 15 minutes late for Game of Thrones. Let's not go to the hotel now. Let's get gas. Because we've driven a big van down there. Go to the first gas station we get to, go to pull in, can't pull in because there are 8 cop cars, 2 ambulances, and all surrounding this one car there. It's like, huh. Well, I guess we're not going to this gas station. So I drive down another block, and I'm like, okay, there's another gas station up here on the right. Pull into this gas station, get out to, pay or to start pumping. There's nobody at this gas station, but then, a car people pull up, and then out of the back of this gas station, this very odd-looking lady starts perusing her goods around the side of this gas station, talking to everybody in the parking lot.
She was a woman of ill repute.
Being a woman of ill repute. So we decide we're not trying to get involved in this. So I hop back into the van. We leave that gas station. Go to the next gas station at the end of this block. Pull out. Gas pumps don't work. And it's like, oh, maybe we have to pay inside. Go to walk inside, and there's a sign on the front of the door that says, back in 10 minutes, written in pen, with a clock drawn on it, but a clock showing 3 p.m. And if you remember the start of this story, it was 9:15, 15 minutes ago. So I don't know when this dude drew this sign or when he said he'll be back in 10 minutes. But I can't assume it'll be anytime soon. So now at this point, we're getting pretty low on gas. So we drive all the way past Graceland because obviously you have to go to Graceland because...
Right. Naturally.
Walking in Memphis.
Oh, God. That's a terrible song, even.
So we go through Graceland and then somehow end up in a very nice neighborhood where I assume all the Grizzlies live. The Memphis
Grizzlies? Not
just
Bears.
All of the, right, because it's just all of these houses with
just imagine you're there's a lot of trees, woods. That's where the Grizzlies live.
So there were a lot of trees in this area, but it was Land Rovers and Lamborghinis and shit parked in the driveway. And I'm like, oh, well, this is very nice. And then right when you get out of that, straight back into shady gas stations. But we were able to finally fuel up on gas and get back to the hotel at about 8:50. So we had a 35-minute drive through the sketchiest parts of Memphis.
And you lived to tell.
And at that point, we went job site, hotel. Job site, hotel.
No,
not TV.
No, you're right. No venturing out. There. So that Memphis is my number 3 on the bottom side. On the top side, I have Key West, Florida. Talk about a place, man. Talk about a place. The record high in Key West, Florida is 96. All right, a couple of years ago here in Western Ohio, it was 108 degrees for 13 straight days. It has never gotten hotter than 96 in Key West. It's this tiny little town that, you hear the word Key West and you know what Key West is, but until you've been there, it's basically just this. It's basically going back in a time machine, and I'm here for it. Someday I will retire to Key West, Florida, and I would like to do it sooner rather than later because it's just such a everybody was nice, everybody was cordial. There was whatever you wanted basically on the island. I was all about it. So Key West, Florida is my number 3, and it should be higher. I've never been to
Key West.
Oh, it's so great.
I've been to a couple places in Florida. I heard they have a great key lime pie.
Oh my gosh, it's nuts! It's amazing because it's right there from the key. The limes are on the key. So it's fresh.
The special part of the key lime is that's where the lime's from?
Yes.
Or is the key the lime?
No. You're mixing up your definition of keys here.
Oh, I'm putting the wrong emphasis
yes.
on the wrong syllable.
Yeah. But the key lime pie there, ridiculously good. It's so refreshing, and you want some because it's always nice weather in Key West. It's never snowed once in the history of recorded history. Never snowed in Key West. You know why? Because it's perfect.
In the history of
history, it is not snowed once there. And after coming off of winter, Key West is awful nice. So I got that at my best number 2.
You went there recently, right?
In February of 2020, right before the world went to hell.
And you got gout.
No. That was Pensacola, Florida. A whole different issue there. Yeah.
Pensacola sounds like an operation that you have to plan out a couple weeks in advance.
Yeah. You got to schedule your Pensacola. So. So those are my number 3s.
You've got Key West.
Key West at top.
Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee. The almost exact opposite of Key West, yes.
So my number 2 bottom is I don't know what's funny.
You can probably guess what's funny about my number 2 bottom.
So my number 2 bottom is New York. New York. It is a shithole.
Never been.
It's something that my number 2 and my number 1 have in common. There are way too many people. Now, the last time I went there was pre-COVID. I want to say the last time I was there was probably December of 2019 in New York proper.
In the city that never sleeps. In the city.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of my work was done in Long Island, which is, it's New York Junior. But it's New York, but with deer. Is my understanding of it. But New York is terrible. And I told Garrett before we started that it's kind of coincidental that some of the places on my bottom list have the worst airports. And it's not hyperbole when I tell you that LaGuardia Airport is the worst airport in the country. As someone who's been to
several dozens
of airports in North America, LaGuardia is the worst. Of the times that I've flown through there, my luggage has been lost 100% of the time. Not only 100% of the time that I've flown through there, but 100% of the time that my luggage has been lost, it's been from LaGuardia. I was loaded onto the wrong plane there once, to the point where the pilot was on the wrong plane.
It feels like an issue.
And that's how our luggage got lost the first time, was half of the plane got loaded onto this plane that was in A10. The pilot comes on a loudspeaker and she's like, "Hey everybody, turns out we're on the wrong plane. If we could all file out, we'll be good to go." Every single person who filed onto that wrong plane first had their luggage lost, because they threw all the luggage on that plane, even though that was the wrong plane. But that's besides the point. New York has way too many people. It's way too crowded. It's dirty. I can't stand the fact that if I want to drive anywhere, I might as well tack an extra hour onto whatever Google says. I know that you're not a Marvel person,
I'm not.
But Thanos was right when it comes to New York. If we could go ahead and just kill half of the people and just make them disappear, that would be perfect.
All right, so
New York is overpopulated by at least 2 times.
Any rays of sunshine for your top number from your top number 2?
Yeah, so my top number 2, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Also never been. Because you're going in a couple weeks, right?
I have a trip planned to Las Vegas here beginning of May. And now Las Vegas might be a shithole, but it's my kind of shithole.
Of the sentences you can say, of all the days to have ears. Thanks for that.
So I've really only been to the Strip and the super touristy part of Las Vegas because I don't live there, so why would I go anywhere else?
Right, why are you going to the Whataburger on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard? Like, I don't need to. I don't need to do that.
Right. So I plan on walking up and down the Strip, and my favorite part of Las Vegas is that there's no open container. So you walk into a bar, you get a beer, you walk out of the bar. And they give you, like, glasses, like legit glass glasses. And you just walk down the Strip, and you're like, huh, my beer's empty. Walk into the closest bar.
Of all the things Las Vegas offers, that is your favorite part.
No, it's not, but that was my favorite part of the sentence.
I'm like, hold on a second. Of all of the things that you can do.
It's the most novel part. How about that?
Okay.
It's the part that nobody tells you about, but
you quickly appreciate
the most of.
I gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
So walking down the Strip, walk into a bar, grab a beer, walk out of the bar, walk down the Strip for 5 minutes. You're like, oh, my beer's gone. Walk into the closest bar, put your beer down, get another beer, walk down the Strip till you're out of beer. The first time I was in Vegas, for 4 days, because I didn't trust myself gambling, because I'd never been...
Probably a good idea.
Never been to Vegas before, and I have what people call, and I feel like I need you to insert the Chris Farley gif, the Matt Foley motivational speaker, a bit of a problem.
I was going to say,
when it comes to
Don might not have what you would call self-control.
I might have an addictive personality. So I didn't trust myself gambling, so I held off until the final night. So the first 4 days I was there from like 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. I would just walk down the Strip drinking beer, and then walk back down the Strip drinking beer until I got back to the hotel room. Just kind of taking it all in.
Yeah.
But it really is almost like being in a different country. We're kind of like, rules don't matter. And, hey, there's a 21-year-old kid who's passed out. It's 11 o'clock and it's 110 degrees out. He's going to be really miserable when he wakes up in an hour. And then you walk back past in 3 hours and he's not there. And you're like, ooh, he's so sunburned. That's a true story. I walked past this kid at 9:30 in the morning because they built like their infrastructure around the highway. So like they have a bunch of like overpasses for walking. 9:30 in the morning, walked past this kid with a book bag on and like a cut off T-shirt, and he was red as Walk back past like 3 hours later. Like people were taking pictures of him. Walked back 3 hours later, and he wasn't there. And I could only imagine
just what that looked like.
But the bright, shiny lights and the alcohol and the gambling, it does it for me. So Las Vegas, Nevada, number 2 favorite places.
So my number 2 bottom and top number 2s are both sweeping generalities. My bottom number 2 is the entire state of Vermont. And the problem with Vermont is it's called the Green Mountain State. And the reason it's called the Green Mountain State is because the whole damn state is just the same green mountain that you're staring at the whole time you're driving through it. It doesn't ever change. It is nothing but green trees on a rock. Nothing but green trees on a rock to look at. Producer Ashley and I drove through literally from north to south the entire state of Vermont. And the entire time you're driving, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. At some point, you're like, all right, we're going to need to eat. Let's stop at a McDonald's somewhere. There are McDonald's everywhere. Is it fantastic? But you know what you're going to get. And so we drove for like 3.5 hours, never seeing McDonald's. Well, then I do some Googling. You're not allowed to advertise fast food restaurants on the signs at exits. Like, they don't have, like, food, gas, hotels in Vermont on those roads. They just don't exist. And so I thought, oh, we could have passed like 15 McDonald's and we didn't know it. No, we didn't. There just are none there. They're in like 8 towns, and that's pretty much it. Because that's what's in Vermont. Nothing. And you don't have cell service to look and be like, all right, where in the next godforsaken town is there somewhere to eat? It's horrible. The whole thing is awful. Don't go.
It sounds like McDonald's passed that law in Vermont. They're like, listen, there are only 8 towns in Vermont that can withstand a McDonald's, so we're not allowing Burger King or Wendy's or Arby's.
Sorry, Wendy's, you're not allowed to advertise. It was terrible. It's just the scenery never changed. No matter how much you drove, no matter how far you got from where you entered the state, doesn't matter. You're still staring at the same crap that you were when you got in 3 hours before.
So of like the 43 states I've been to, Vermont is not one of them.
Yeah, make it the last one because it's awful. Just terrible. I think
the last one is probably going to be Hawaii.
Probably.
But I get the sentiment. Or Washington State. Like I've been to Oregon. Oregon. I've been to Washington. I've been to California. Haven't been to Oregon yet. So I don't have much of a point to go out there. I was going to
say, don't have much of a reason to visit Oregon. I haven't been either. But
especially since I was supposed to go this last year, but COVID, because I was going to go to Ohio State at Oregon.
Right. So my top number 2, which is another sweeping generality, is the entire country of Iceland. It's got everything. There are volcanoes and waterfalls and craters and icebergs, and they got like mythological creatures, and everything is kind of creepy and weird, but also bright and cheery. It's this gigantic conundrum.
Which mythological creature do they have?
Well, they have their own like mythological creatures. Like they have like rock formations, and it's like, how did that happen? Like, oh well, this guy was cheating on his wife and tried to get back out to the ocean, but when the sun came up, he got frozen time, and he's still there 3,000 years later. And you're like, I don't even know what sort of crack pipe he smoked to get to that story, but I love it.
So not like good ones.
No. Oh yeah.
But
not
just like local ones.
Yeah.
Not one that I would know.
Or appreciate or nothing, but they're their own little weird people, and I loved every moment of my time there, and it felt like forever. I mean, it's the only country I've ever been rear-ended in and thought, you know what, this is still kind of fun. We were at a yield sign and there were cars coming, so we stopped, and the car behind us did not, and she rear-ended our car about 20 minutes from the airport, and that'll throw a wrench in your last day in a country. But it was still fun, fantastic. It was lovely, and I would go back again in a second. So Iceland at number 2.
Well, you know what they say.
What do they say, Don?
Greenland is very nice. Nope, Iceland is very nice, but Greenland is full of ice. Congratulations.
You know what they say.
Myself.
I was going to say, get the first sentence out and go, nope. You're just like, you know what they say. Greenland is nice. Nope. All right. Good work.
Well, no, that's the whole saying. Is
right now, I got
Greenland is nice. Not. They say that in Kazakhstan, I believe.
Yeah, I would say you're correct. So those are my number 2s.
So do you want to hit us with an ad roll here?
Oh, you know what? That's a great idea.
A message from our wonderful sponsors.
Yeah, I gotta stare at these buttons here for a second and remember which one does it. But yes, I think it's this one.
The sparkly one.
All right, so we are ranking our top and bottom favorite places we've ever been, or best, worst, favorite, least favorite, however you'd like to phrase it. And we have come to our number 1s. And Don, I will let you go first.
Okay.
Unless you just want to do both. We both do our bottoms and then do our tops.
Let's both do our bottoms.
All right.
So my least favorite bottom I've ever been is face down in Garrett's bed. Wait, no. Hold on. I think I read this one wrong. Oh, yeah. We're talking about places we've been. Yep. So I've got Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, that's right. I forgot how much you hated Albuquerque.
I believe it's called the biggest hole on earth. I think is their tagline.
Is that what it says on the sign when you come into town?
Yeah. So, well, I wouldn't know because I flew in, but as I flew in and I looked out the window, there was just a giant poop emoji. So I think that's what
was implied.
Right. The best part about that town is that the Breaking Bad house is there. I didn't even watch all of Breaking Bad, but that's still the best part of that town. Like, I went to the Breaking Bad house. I was there for 2 straight weeks. The last night I was there, went to the Breaking Bad house, and I guess that people used to like go there and throw pizza on the roof because that was a thing in Breaking Bad.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm not a douchebag, so I wouldn't do something like that. But the people who had bought this house since the recording had happened put up like a giant fence around their house, security cameras everywhere. Didn't even look like the image that you would see like on Google Images when you search Breaking Bad house. Doesn't even look like that house anymore because these people want nothing to do
just want to be
with
left
the Breaking
alone.
Bad culture. Right. Like we had to park across the street in like someone's parking spot in their house, which I'm sure pisses them off just as much as it does the people who own the house. But and that, which is a terrible spot to go, was the best part of the Breaking Bad house. Or the Breaking Bad house was the best part of Albuquerque. Everything has those shitty, what are they called?
The like roof tiles, is that where you're going?
Yeah,
for?
like the clay houses.
Yeah. Is it like
Adobe?
Terracotta, I don't, yeah.
Terracotta houses. I'm
yeah,
Googling
I was going to say the terracotta tiles or it's something like that.
It's like a mix between like Adobe, like that clay and like that pink coloring and the terracotta houses. Like
terracotta roof tile.
Terracotta. There you go.
Yes.
It's just a combination of that everywhere. And every single street corner that you come across looks exactly the same as the last one. And honestly, I've been to New York, I've been to Chicago, I've been to Las Vegas, Albuquerque, and not that this is like a bad thing on any of those people, but it had the most homeless people that I've seen of any city that I've been to. And 50% of those signs say, please take me to Las Vegas. It's like, how did you end up in Albuquerque from...
How are you shooting for Vegas and get to Albuquerque?
Right, like somebody lost everything in Vegas and wound up in Albuquerque.
Right. Are you Christopher Columbus? You shooting for somewhere else? We're like, hell with it. We'll stay here. We'll say we found India.
But it is by far my least favorite. It's super high altitude as well. So it's
you can't
about
breathe.
20 degrees hotter than it actually is.
Because you're that much closer to the sun.
Right. It's far and away
So
the
you
worst.
wouldn't recommend?
I would recommend a lot of things before I would recommend going to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Like, if I could, I would recommend like Normandy, France in 1946.
44.
Yeah, but also 46. But yeah. Having not been there, I would recommend Normandy, France in 1944 ahead of Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2018.
All right. So that's Don's bottom one. My worst one, Don. Do you know where the happiest place on earth is?
Wilshire, Ohio.
Close. It's Disney World. And do you know where the
is that the Florida one?
Yes. And do you know what the least happy place on earth is?
Is it Disney World?
It is the Orlando International Airport. I cannot tell you how much I hate the Orlando International Airport. I think the last time I was there, I was 26 years old, and I legitimately almost had a heart attack because of just how angry I was going through the Orlando International Airport. My wife and I waited in line on the farthest TSA checkpoint. The problem is they opened up a closer TSA checkpoint to where all the people were. So we waited in line an extra 2 hours because the people working the TSA security areas at the Orlando International Airport don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. So that's incredibly infuriating. And then you're a frequent Southwest flyer.
I am.
You have to check in 24 hours before your flight to, get your boarding position. You can check in 24 hours. And
when you're an A-list preferred member, such as myself, I will never check in later than 8:30. But go on. And automatic check-in, so go on.
So one through 15 is reserved for people.
A1 through 15 is business.
Right. If you pay extra, you can be A1 through 15. I think producer Ash and I were like A20 and 21 or whatever. Well, Guess what? In the Orlando airport, that doesn't fucking matter because there are families that have to board together. Well, I'm sorry that your crappy family didn't plan ahead and you are C60. Doesn't matter. They get to board before you. And it drives me insane because you know what? Everybody who's flying out of the Orlando airport to Columbus, Ohio is a family, except for me and my wife who are losers.
So, if I remember right, the way you guys might have been in the 30s. No, I don't know.
No,
because I think Southwest, so they board like old people and people who need assistance first. Then they board like veterans or active service. Right. And then they do A through 15, A through 30. And then I think they do either after 30 or after 60 is usually when they board families. Because the last time I flew Southwest... Oh, well, you should really get preferred because preferred gets ahead of families.
We're not
last time I flew.
We don't have to have this conversation on the podcast now. You should really, the benefits of signing up for Southwest Preferred membership.
Well, no, you can't sign up for Preferred. You have to hit 80,000 miles.
Oh, well, excuse me for not accomplishing
40,000 miles.
But just first of all, the entire experience. Oh, the TSA people are like, you get to like the metal scanners and they're like, don't take off your shoes. Don't take off your shoes. And I'm like, okay. So then you get to the metal scanner and there's these morons who are like, why don't you have your shoes off? Because you've got some person back there shouting at people telling them not to take off their shoes. I was so mad. I could feel my heart palpitating. And
that's why you should have TSA pre-check. So you don't have to... This is just an ad for flying, so that you don't have to take off your shoes or your belt or take your computer out of your book bag.
Yes, I have a backpack.
I've been fingerprinted. I've been through the interview process. Let me through, peasant. And they do.
So that's
5 years.
That's my worst number one.
No, so your number one is the Orlando International Airport.
Yeah, I would rather watch the video of my conception than go back to the Orlando International Airport.
I've never been to the Orlando International Airport.
Wouldn't recommend.
Now that you say that, it makes sense that, like, these people are families and they're flying back. Well, it's a family of 4 and they're just going to take every window and middle seat.
Right. But then
how am I supposed to?
They're ending their vacation. They're ending their vacation. So mom's mad because dad hasn't done jack shit the entire week they were at Disney World. Dad's mad because all he wants to do is get back and start thinking about all the crap he's got to do for work, while their crappy little kids named Aiden and Paisley just scream all the godforsaken words you can imagine because their ears are popping. It's awful, and I hate it.
I wish we had friends whose kids' name were Aiden and Paisley.
We have friends that have a kid named Paisley.
But not Aiden and Paisley.
Okay, sorry. So what's your number one?
Do we have friends who have kids named Paisley, or do you have a friend who has a kid?
I imagine you would call them your friend. Producer Ashley's giving us the, hey, why don't you guys shut up?
Apparently not good enough friend where I know what their kid's name is.
Right, well, not anymore. We were in their wedding, and now we're not useful to them anymore.
I knew who you were talking about. I knew who you were talking about when you said it.
No, I got you.
I knew who would have that kid.
Okay, we just got the wrap up from producer Ashley. So what's your top spot, Don?
My top spot is a wild card. And I almost bet that you haven't been to this place if you don't live there and are a listener. Like, very few listeners roll through this place, and that is Baker, Montana.
What?
Baker, Montana.
No, I don't. I didn't need it. I didn't need more volume.
No.
No. I got you. I heard what you said.
What did you think my number one would be?
I don't know.
Like Columbus, Ohio?
No.
Yeah, it's super nice, and honestly, it should be in my top 3, but I felt that as kind of cheatsy doodles. So I've got Baker, Montana at number 1.
Any specific reason?
Yeah. So, those of you who know me know that I like my seclusion. I like to not see people unless I want to see them. I like internet, and I like drinking. So, Baker, Montana is in rural Montana. It's actually on the eastern part of Montana. Went there for work. It's a town of roughly 1,000 people, maybe. In this town of 1,000 people, they have 5 bars, 5 churches, 5 casinos. Some of them are like all-in-ones. Like, oh, this is a bar/casino. This is like a bar/church. We can't be sure. But they've got like 3 or 4 hotels, and then they have fiber internet in there, which is like the super fast internet.
How do they have fiber internet?
So the reason they have fiber internet is because they are on an oil pipeline.
Gotcha.
And they have like oil derricks everywhere, and there's a big train station that comes through there. So they need this for the oil and the trains and all that stuff. So they have super fast, super cheap internet there. And it's perfect for me because, like I said, it's a town of 1,000 people, plenty of places to drink, super fast internet, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like, literally, when I looked it up, it was an hour drive to the closest Walmart. And that's an hour drive at
80
their
miles an hour.
road signs. Like, they're 2-lane roads, like what we would have near home that's 55-mile-an-hour roads.
Mm-hmm.
70 mile an hour, unless it's dark, in which case it's 65 mile an hour is the speed limit on those roads.
So I'm looking at
animals jumping out.
I'm looking at the map. It is basically, if you were to draw a cross from Billings, Montana to Bismarck, North Dakota, from east to west, and Regina to Cheyenne, Wyoming, from north to south, Baker, Montana is right in the middle of it. So you are correct that it is incredibly eastern Montana, like almost on the border.
The closest decent airport is in Bismarck.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that looks like it's probably like a 3.5 hour.
It's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
Because I had to drive it one day because one of the guys that I was working with flew home early because his job was done. So I had to drive north to Wilbox and then east to Bismarck. It is a 3.5 hour drive. And And you actually go, during that drive, you go straight past Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which is beautiful,
you do.
By the way, if you ever get a chance. But no, so I drove there and back in one day of work. So that was 7 hours of my day.
According to Wikipedia, in 2014, Baker was described as a busy, noisy, trafficked jam bursting at the seams boomtown on the edge of the oil fields.
Yeah, population of 1,700 and at the 2010 consensus, or census.
2010 consensus. So Baker, Montana, if you ever get a chance, get on out.
Baker, Montana, if you like small town life, you would absolutely love Baker, Montana. It's far and away my favorite place I've been to for work. And especially any place that's not in the state of Ohio.
And now you know. So my number one spot is a resort in the Costa Maya region of Mexico called Mayachan. Obviously been there on vacation, but it's this really kind of super crazy, cheap, all-inclusive day resort for like cruise ship passengers. And it's at the end of basically like a four-wheeler path to get to. But the food was incredible. The beaches are white sand. The water is not like crystal clear blue because they don't mess with it. They're just like, hey, this is the ocean. This is how it's supposed to be. We're not going to kill a bunch of stuff so you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside and get good pictures for Instagram. The food's great. The service is ridiculous. Literally, we had a waitress wearing jean shorts wade out into the water to bring us like Coronas, and it's like, oh, hey, I accidentally brought 3 for each of you. Darn, crazy that I screwed that up, huh? Like, lady, it feels like you're trying to get us pickled. She's like, well, if it happens, that's okay too. Because most people are like, they water down their drinks and whatever. They're trying to jerk you for all the profits they can get, and these guys are like, eat more tacos, you fatties, drink more booze, have some fun. And so it's really easy to spend a whole day there eating your stuff in your face and getting just absolutely plastered. And this,
when were you there?
So this is 2017, 2018, and it is right along the coast. It's perfect. It's just such a lovely little slice of heaven that if I could spend basically every day of my life there, I would do so because I enjoy tacos.
What did you go there for?
We just went. We were on a cruise ship, and we were like, "What are you doing at this port?" I'm like, I don't know. You want to go to this little rinky-dink place? Yeah, we do. And it was probably half the price of every other thing to do, and it was double the fun because you know what? Eating tacos, drinking Coronas while sitting in the ocean, and it was an 82-degree day or whatever in December. I will take it 9 times out of 10. And
so let us know if you want us to do a podcast from a cruise ship.
Yeah, if you would like us to, go back or whatever. I know Don had talked about, maybe taking an Alaskan cruise.
I need to go to Alaska.
I've done it. I would be willing to do an Alaskan cruise.
We'll take 4 weeks of vacation and we'll go from Alaska to Hawaii, and then back to Oregon.
We'll drive from Alaska to Hawaii.
The whole West Coast.
We'll drive from Alaska to Hawaii because, as everyone who's went to public school knows, there are 2 islands next to each other in the bottom left corner of the map.
They're so close.
It's just so close to each other. It's crazy that the nature changes that much. That one is really cold and the other is tropical and nice. They're right next to each other. If that's not the dumbest thing you'll hear today, I don't know what will be. So those are our favorite places and least favorite places that we have been in our entire adult lives. There's still plenty of time, hopefully, to add on to our least favorite places.
We'll see.
Sounds like depends on how the next couple of weeks go. So you can find Don on Twitter.
At Donnie_G.
And I'm on Twitter at Garrett Seawright. You can find the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Rankum Podcast. If you could give us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, however you could help us out, we certainly do appreciate it. It really actually does help. And we'll catch you next time, right here on the Rankum Podcast.